the reality of what we are, when it became so obvious here, it was so clear that every single point of view I had looked for to bring me satisfaction and fulfillment, no matter what it was, that what I had really been looking for was this. So I was looking at the points of view, but I was only looking at their label and thinking, that maybe happiness was in that label, and the happiness was in the underlying reality of the label. When I realized that everything was complete in itself. So everything I've looked for happiness, being a good person, being a good wife, being a good mother, being a good daughter, being a good sister, being a good auntie, whatever it was. All of these things that I'd looked to for satisfaction and fulfillment, in that instant of realizing the awareness that has always been, I realized that that's what I was looking for. And especially my relationship with God. I'd been raised as a Catholic, and I had been an earnest, devout Catholic, praying as a young child to be close to God and wanting to know all of what that meant, and enjoying my missal and the Latin Mass and all the ritual of the Catholic Church, greatly enjoying all of that. And praying all of my life, every single day, morning and night, praying sometimes during the day too. So really earnest, and not as devout as my mother and grandmother, but I was warming up to that. I learned well from them. But, through their example of devotion, that devotion was very important in my life, and it was very much alive in me, that devotion. So, when it came to the realization of my own suffering and the direct experience of awareness, that devotion that had been inspired in me from early life was very important, because then I could be devoted to that relief. So, I'm so thankful that that was present for me. But, my earnestness to know God and my devotion to that, in the realization of awareness, I realized that this awareness that everyone is, it's synonymous with whatever you want to call it, whether it's God or perfect love or the absolute or the divine mother or white Tara, green Tara, or Saman Tabadri, or whatever it is. It's all awareness. You see, there's one thing that about each one of those, the perceptions, that is constant. Awareness. Awareness. So no matter what we call it, it is awareness. The great reality of all seeking for satisfaction and fulfillment is that we're looking for awareness. So no matter what our thoughts are, no matter what our emotions are, no matter what our actions are, the urgency in those is always the urgency for awareness. That's what it is. And once we know that no perception, whatever it is, exists elsewhere other than awareness, thus it has no independent substance, nature, or characteristics other than awareness, then it supports us greatly in just being that, allowing that to be primary rather than the label, the description of what's going on. Stories come to an end. They come to a complete halt. Because it's realized that to persist in the story is to just make a story out of awareness. Rest is best. That's all I had to say. Rest is best. First, there's understanding. Then there's personal experience. Like you said, you had the direct experience of there being no subject and object. And then indwelling confidence. So know that the understanding comes first, usually, then the personal experience, then the indwelling confidence that everything is awareness. The direct experience that you already have of there being no subject or object, That's the place of natural rest. So now you know what you're resting as. That's the reality of every single perception. But it doesn't come or go. It's timelessly so. So even when you're not recognizing that someone else's awareness, it's still awareness. Just continue to rest as that, and it'll become more and more obvious that everything is that. You don't have to figure anything out. Figure it out isn't a mantra here. So, there's nothing to intellectually speculate about, philosophize about, or figure out. Just know that the direct experience you've had of there being no subject or object, that is natural rest. That is awareness. It's a very important instruction, and I'll describe it to everyone here. When falling asleep at night, just be aware that all the points of view, no matter what they are, resolve within a non-conceptual state, which is also a point of view, by the way. And as all those points of view resolve in the non-conceptual state, just remain aware rather than just falling helplessly into sleep with all the points of view imploding into the point of view of sleep. Just remain aware. Aware as you're falling asleep, aware of all the points of view gradually resolving in a non-conceptual state or point of view. But still, the non-conceptual state is not awakening. It's just a non-conceptual state. It's another point of view. There's the awareness that is that non-conceptual state is timelessly free, not the non-conceptual state. So when luminous awareness is maintained at that point, then you can slip into sleep, aware of sleeping, aware of dreaming. This isn't something that anyone really has to do, but if you want to, it's extremely powerful, because to realize that awareness is also inclusive of non-conceptual states and sleep and dreams is extremely powerful. To have the direct experience of that, being aware as that which includes those things, because most of us for years have taken ourselves to be kind of powerless in regard to those things, sleeping and dreaming. So to maintain our awareness while falling asleep and in sleep, it is very powerful in terms of us conclusively realizing that we are awareness inclusive of everything.
I'll keep trying, but
awakening to the reality of what we are, it can be either an adventure or hard work, depending on how we look at it. So if we take it to be hard work, then it'll be hard work. If we take it to be an adventure, then it'll be an adventure. But to realize that every single one of our perceptions, no matter what they are, is timelessly free, and then just to see how really the reality of our whole existence is timelessly free as awareness. For example, the instruction on falling asleep, it's very powerful, and it has an impulse in and of itself to be who one is. So there isn't any point of view that's forgotten that it is awareness. There's no point of view whatsoever. All points of view are awareness, and there's no point of view that's forgotten that's awareness. Resting as that direct experience, naturally resting without effort, is by far the most pleasant way to realize who you are. And it's also been traditionally, through thousands of years, the easiest way for people to realize who they are. So this is nothing new, it's absolutely nothing new. Especially in the West, we tend to look at everything as hard work. If we want to get something good, then we have to work hard for a long time to get it. So when we hear something like rest naturally without seeking anything, rest naturally without describing anything, it may sound like, oh, this couldn't possibly work. Not for something as good as enlightenment. But that's really the most difficult instruction I get, resting naturally. The easiest one is just to keep showing up, and then conviction will dawn.